Hey, welcome in Dom Giordano, Dom Time. And it's the type of show where if you're watching at home, have a drink. We can't do it here on set because we're talking with Wendell Young IV. He is the head of the president of the union that works in the various, I still call them state stores. I know there must be another proper term for that.
Wine and spirit
Wine
shops.
state-controlled stores.
They're not your father's state
That's
stores.
That's what I want state-controlled
Statist
stores. Commissars, the Commissars in there. And John Featherman, who writes for Philly.com and is a noted libertarian on this. And you heard some of the evidence that Wendell's presented, some of the studies that indicate Pennsylvania were well off versus the peons over in New Jersey and Delaware getting drunk every night.
I didn't say that.
Well, you are saying our model's better off. Let's turn to now what happens next, the inside of this type of thing. You're now on the modernization mode. You would accept that, and we're hearing some of that. Take us inside what you think then happens come September. What are the play that they're associated?
Dom, I'd be really hesitant to try and predict what'll happen in September. What I can say is that we've been pushing for decades modernization, and from time to time governors like Casey and Rendell have grasped that and pushed it, which is why we have such a unique and valuable system. Governors like Corbett with leaders like Terzai have actually thwarted improvement.
What's Corbett's motivation, in your view?
I think it's campaign dollars. I think it's that simple.
From whom?
You move this valuable asset that produces a lot of revenue
from supermarkets
to individuals and corporations that will profit hugely from this. Privatization of public services at any level of government is a magnet for campaign contributions. So I think that's what this is all about.
Well, I would say it's a good thing too, in my view.
We would
exactly.
Differ.
We would differ on that. I think it's bigger than that, though. I think why is it that most people, and maybe you don't share this, think that if he does this, that's a big chip when he runs for re-election?
Well, the polls actually suggest that most voters don't see this as a priority. All the polls that have been done this show that voters do not see as a priority. Just take that last Franklin and Marshall poll, which matches other independent polls that have been done. Long list of other things, it comes in last or second to last every time, with less than 10% of the voters that see this as something that they should be concentrating on.
Do you see that way, John? Now, this is inside politics big time, and I trust the political instincts of these guys. And I trust Wendell. He checks a big box. I get something done that's been going on for 90 years here that nobody else could do.
Tom Corbett has gone 3 for 3. He has completed each budget on time. Yes, he didn't get privatization done this time, but guess what? We don't have a fiscal cliff in Pennsylvania. We would have had a fiscal cliff. He did his job. He's lagging in the polls right now, but watch him gain because people have their services now. That's the bottom
Let me
line.
ask you, who are you guys backing when? I know it's early, but who would you potentially, what type of candidate? Certainly not Corbett. So where's the support going? I think Corbett's a winner. I'll state it right here and right now, not because he's an overwhelming candidate, not because he has widespread support. Simply, I don't see who the Democrats have.
I'll back any Democrat, but any Democrat that runs against Corbett. And, it's our union's been friends with pretty much every Democrat that is running.
Now, the two major Democrats, Allison Schwartz and Rob McCord, have both been out publicly saying they're against privatization. So they must feel there is traction somewhere in the state for that.
Yeah, they actually know how to read the fiscals and understand how unique and valuable our system is, and they support improving it. And I'm happy to hear that. They're both really good friends. So I'm really looking forward to this race. I would hope the Democrats could get the field down to 1 so we don't waste a lot of time and resource competing against each other in a primary. That would be nice.
Well, what's his vulnerability to you? His polling numbers are horrible.
His polling numbers are horrible.
But incumbency in Pennsylvania, we're in a state where they just don't throw out incumbents.
Yeah, but then we've never had a governor with numbers this low either.
What do you think?
Well, let me say this. I support Governor Corbett 100%. I like the people in his administration. But just remember this. He may not be Mr. Personality. Neither is Bob Casey. Bob Casey got overwhelmingly reelected. That's what's going to happen with Tom Corbett, too, because there will be a Democratic primary where they beat each other up. They're going to be depleted of resources. Game over.
Well, this I have to say, you're right about this state electing dull politicians. Governor Rendell will be with us on a future show. He's the last one that I could think of where there wasn't any of that.
I would like to point out Bob Casey was a mild-mannered guy who also spent a lot of time out amongst people and constituencies and no one ever worried when Bob Casey spoke freely in a crowd or in front of a microphone about what he was going to say next.
You're saying that about
I
Governor
think
Corbett?
this is going to be very interesting. The only way Corbett's going to be able to recover if he gets out there and actually encounters people, talks to people, and meets people. And when he does that, he seems to make a lot of mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes. Look at his legal strategy on, what, 7 or 8 issues now? This guy just, there's a lot people look at and say, you know, this just isn't working very well. And I hear from my own members. I have a lot of members that are Republicans also throughout Pennsylvania. I represent people throughout all of 2/3 of Pennsylvania, including rural communities. And a lot of people are pretty unhappy with the state of things now, and they're looking for a new leader. And I think we're going to get a new leader.
Allison Schwartz in Pennsylvania. Come on, Wendell.
I love Allison. I'd like to see that. I like Bob Ricord. I have a lot of respect for him. Either one of them would be great for me. Wolf is a terrific candidate as well.
It's going to be
as
an
well as
interesting
John
governor's
Hanger.
race.
They're all really bright people. Scott Conklin, I understand, is probably going to run as well. I think any one of them will do a lot of good things for Pennsylvania and move us in a much better direction.
Wendell, thanks for joining us tonight. To be continued as prohibition continues in Pennsylvania. We're counting down the days until we get to September. And John Featherman, column appears when?
This week.
Yeah, okay, that's good enough.
Got to wait for this news story to come out.
Okay, you're waiting. You don't know what the
Gotta
story
see
may
what it's
be.
gonna be.
All righty. John Featherman, thanks for joining us. You read johnaphilly.com. Wendell, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Dom,
for
for
coming
having me
out
on.
tonight.
John, thanks. Good to
Coming
see you again.
coming up after we have a drink at the after the show, a little bit of inside my mind. Thanks to John Featherman, something he told me during one of the breaks that you're going to want to hear about Mayor Nutter and the Trayvon Martin case. That's straight ahead with Dom. Hey, you know, the Trayvon Martin case we're going to be talking about next week on the Dom Giordano program with a couple of great guests. There is actually a feeling that looking at this case, that this could be very similar to the Rodney King case. I don't know why it would be if the outcome that Zimmerman is found not guilty, but there are things in the air that are indicating that various people are expecting big trouble if that happens. I would expect that Zimmerman, based upon the testimony we've seen so far, 2 things. I think the prosecution is going to rest pretty soon because I don't think they have a whole lot. The witnesses have not been compelling, and the defense, I think, will have a solid argument. Remember, it's reasonable doubt that's involved here. So watch for that, and next week on the Dom Giordano Dom Time, we'll be talking about that, and we'll talk about the racial angle of this case, the repercussion, and maybe some people that are fueling this, that this should not get to a point where there's any response like the LA riots or anything like that. More on that next week. I hope you'll join me each and every night at 7 p.m. with Dom Time. Have a great night. Thanks to our guest. Thanks for watching tonight with Dom Giordano on Dom Time.